you think Shan and Ross will work on the outside?
I think everyone has that same opinion that you guys probably won't be together on the outside.
I'm very strategic in what clip I choose to show sort of at the beginning of my reviews. And instead of choosing to show who won, I chose this particular clip because if anyone has any questions why Shan and Ross didn't win, exhibit Z, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, Shan is the reason why they didn't win. She is the reason why they didn't win. I feel like the superfans wanted to give the win to Isabel and Connor, and sadly, Isabel was too sort of negative for them to sort of put her as the face for season 2025, and so they decided to go to Shan and Ross, and Shan was just as bad as Isabel, and so they went to step down and gave it to Yana and Kai. Do I think they deserve to win? No, I don't. They were never going to give it to Jotham, but out of the three couples that were left, Jotham and Jade were the better couple, in my opinion. Yes, I didn't like the comment that Jade made about Jotham's family when she said, he was raised by good people. And my antenna becomes, what do you mean, or how do you define good people? So I feel like superfans got who they wanted, or who they had as third runner-up to win, because they were never going to give it to Shan. And Shan, sadly, she was called out by her friend out of everybody else, which I am here for. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia Season 7. Episode 29 is the last episode of Season 7. Anyway, so the couples wake up in the morning. It's the top three that are left. So they wake up to a message. Jotham receives a message. Good morning, Islanders. Welcome to the final day in the villa. And so they are told that they will be meeting each other's parents. And first couple up is Jotham and Jade. They got to sit down with Jotham's mum and brother. And so they were asked, initially the brother asked sort of what made Jotham stand out for you. And she couldn't say anything tangible unless it was edited out. She didn't say anything, or nothing that I heard. Yes, when her parents asked her, she did, but I would have expected her to say he's very caring, he's very accommodating, he's very patient, he's very considerate, but she didn't say that. And so I was side-eyeing her. She was asked about long distance, and she said although she's from New Zealand, she's currently in Sydney, I think she said, and she's open to moving. So Jotham, obviously, he's a football player, I think, and there is a chance that he might be overseas. Wherever his career takes him, that's where he's going to be. Sadly, I was disappointed by Jade, and when she said he was raised by good people, I was side-eyeing her. That, what do you mean he was raised by good people? Who is the bad people that would have raised him? Or do you mean his father's side of the family, or what? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I don't know. For Jade, we got to meet her stepdad and mom. And, the mom asked, does he put you first? And she said, yes, he has been. He has been. Especially if I remember the night that they came from Casa and how protective he was of Jade. That to me is enough to say he's a good guy. Jade was asked, well, it was Jotham was asked, do you see Jade as your partner? He said yes, she has the qualities that he's looking for in a partner. He was open and said he didn't have experience in a committed relationship or in a sort of a girlfriend and boyfriend situation, which I love that he let them know, so that they were open to that and understood that. The mom was excited. She said they looked great. Do I think that went well? Yes, it went well, outside of the comment that she was raised by good people. I was side-eyeing her for that, and I'm still side-eyeing her. Ross and Shan were next. They met up with Ross's aunt and friend, and it was revealed that his mom wanted to be there, but unfortunately she couldn't. Shan was asked, what drew you to Ross? She said, he's my type. I like the mo, I like the mallet, I like the fact that he's very intelligent and he has very in-depth conversations. And so I think with Shan, she was studied and she was prepared, and she wanted to make a very good impression, because she said first impressions count. So that's the impression that I got. That to her, I don't think it was emotional. I think it was something that needed to be done, and she made sure she did it the right way. On his part, Ross was impressed. He said she made a good impression on his family, which I don't know. I really don't get. Shan had her sister and dad there, and she was saying she's a bit nervous because she has to tell them that she's open to moving, and she doesn't know how her family will feel about that because she wants to move to the Gold Coast to be closer to Ross. I don't think their relationship is that. I think Shan came onto the show wanting to move to the Gold Coast, and so she wanted some leverage to move with, and this is why she's on the show. She was asked by her family that what's going to happen at long distance. She said, she's open to moving. The sister was very accommodating. The dad didn't say much, and I think he's saving his comments for when they're off camera, unless he said something that production sort of edited out. Kai and Yana, I don't even know why they needed Meet the Parents, outside of the fact that they could have just sent an email to say we're back together. You had the mom, the dad, and the brother. The brother and the dad, well, Yana's brother and dad were very excited that she was back with Kai. They were very excited. The mom was sort of taken aback. I think the mom knows more about the relationship, so she really wasn't on board with this. She was trying to sort of put her best foot forward and sort of make sure she doesn't do or say anything that's going to be sort of reflect negatively on the two of them. And so they were asked, how are you going to make it work once you've left the experience? And so they were saying they've learned a lot about one another. They've grown. And for me personally, I think when Yana's mom sees the show, she's going to be disappointed in Kai because he was actually maybe worse than he was in real life. So I don't know how she's going to take that. They met up with Kai's brother and his mom, and the mom was surprised that they were both back together again. Kai did own up to his mom and dad and brother and tell them that, you're going to be embarrassed by some of the things that I did. And it's like, if you knew your family is going to watch, why would you walk around in a sock? Why would you kiss anything with two legs? Why would you be making out with girls in the shower room? Make that make sense? They both agreed that their lives have changed and they're so excited that, their loved ones will get to see them give it another go. I think the families were happy that their loved one wasn't with a stranger. Do I think they are advocates for this relationship and they want it to work? I don't think so. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're already split up. After Meet the Families, you have the islanders sort of be told to go outside. They see the truth bike there. Shan receives a message. Finalists, good news. You do not have to face the truth bike alone. Prepare to grill some old friends. It's like it's about to be messy. And so out come the islanders that have been dumped. Boston and Mia were not there. A lot of people came back, but Boston, Mia, and Alex didn't come back. I'm not surprised they didn't come back. I feel like they were treated negatively, so I'm not surprised they didn't come back. Anyway, everybody comes back. The truth bike is there, so the dumped islanders will have to jump onto the truth bike. And I personally don't understand this concept. This concept should be used on the people that are still in the villa. That way we have the most honest opinions of them, because at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything, me finding out about people that have been dumped. So first up was Mick. Mick was asked by Yana, do you regret not taking the 20K? And he said yes. Yes, he does regret not taking it. And it's like, and everyone who was dumped regrets not taking the 20K, let's be for real. Because if you took the 20K, you stood to win more, or if not the same as the people that stayed in the villa and actually won. Shan asked, did you and Emma hook up last night? They said yes. And so Mut said, he had gone off his dry spell. And I personally didn't understand why Shan needed to know that, because Shan had way too many questions for other people that were not of her interest or had nothing to do with her. So I didn't quite get it. Next up was Emma. She was asked, was Mick good by Yana? And it's like, why do you need to know that? She said yes. And it's like, do you think she was going to embarrass him like you? Anyway, Jade asked, did Connor send spicy pics before you entered the villa? And you had Emma say yes. Apparently, Emma and Connor had been chatting before they entered the villa, and Connor had agreed that he would wait for Emma, and suddenly he left, before she came in, because obviously he offered to sort of a self-dump. Apparently they both knew that they were coming into the villa. So Connor, I think, having been called out right at the beginning that he was just there for the game, decided to leave and sort of have this good boy image when we all knew otherwise. Next question was from Jotham. Do you think you'd have had a better connection with Mick or Connor? She said Mick. I think at the end of the day, Mick was a better choice for her, because Connor was never going to give her anything. Connor was boring enough with Isabel, so I don't know how he would have been with Emily. They would have just faded into the background. Next up is Dylan. He was asked by Gabby, is it true you woke up in vomit? And he said yes. It seemed they had gone out the night before and had an amazing time. Sean asked, do you think you didn't try hard with Gabby or Cody because you wanted the 20K? And it's like, how did you know you was going to get the 20K? What if that concept was not brought up? Well, how was he going to get the 20K? You're assuming he knew that for sure there was guaranteed to be a 20K. Dylan said no, he didn't have enough time with Cody for them to try and sort of explore that, and with Gabby there was nothing there. Next up was Cody. She was asked by suddenly Kai had a voice. Did Dylan split the money with you? And she just smiled, and Dylan said yes, he is going to split the money with her. Kai was then asking how much is he going to give her. Even if he gives her 500, that's still something. That's better than other people that are walking out with nothing. So whatever he chooses to give her, I think he should give her 5K and stay with 15, and then he can use the 15 for whatever he wants to do. That's just my opinion. And then you had Tamara ask, do you think you and Dylan are compatible after going out last night? And she said yes. And Sean then asked, did Dylan get jealous? And it was a yes. So it wasn't a Sophie thing. It's Dylan who has these insecurities in relationships. Whether he's been cheated on or whether he's cheated on people, this is why he's very insecure and is very controlling in regards what his partner says or does. That's the impression that I get, because he had the same problem with Sophie last season when she was speaking to Zayn or when she touched Zayn, and so it's a Dylan thing, it's not the girls. Mateo was asked by Yana, did you and Tamara have an argument? And he said yes. Apparently they clashed because, he thought that Tamara had made out with Josh and Tamara was saying no. And then Tamara was on the bike. Asked by Sean, did you and Josh hook up? And she said yes, they kissed. And Mateo then asked, did the kiss happen before or after our chat? And she said no, it happened after. And it's like, there was never anything there. We were told by Boston that there was nothing there, that they didn't like one another. And so the idea that they tried to sell themselves as a couple, I don't get it. Josh then asked, was the kiss to get back at Mateo? And you had Tamara say no, it wasn't. She kissed him because she really liked him. So I think they're going to try and explore that. And then came the messiness, the pettiness. So Gabby was asked by Shan, did you hook up with anyone last night? And she said no. She was then asked by Cody, do you still think Jotham played you? And she said yes. And, he slept with half of the Gold Coast, according to what she's heard from her friends back home. And on his part, Jotham said, I haven't slept. I've got a high body count, but I don't think I've slept with half. I think I've slept with a quarter. I think he was just being silly. Gabby, on her part, wasn't happy. And I'm happy that Jade said, Gabby's just being petty for no reason. Gabby's still butthurt that this guy left her. That's the impression that I get. She won't take responsibility for her behavior. Sean then asked, do you think Jade has something to worry about? And she said yes. And it's like, it's not your place. Tamara then asked her, do you think there are people here for ingenuine reasons? And I think she expected Gabby to say Jotham and Jade. And so for Gabby to turn around and say Ross, he was using me for screen time, this is something that came out of left field. I don't think it's something, unless they were discussing it, because you had Gabby say that, she wasn't the only person who thought this. Everybody else thought about this. So this is nothing new. And Sean, having seen this, started having this sort of little conversation with Tamara, criticizing Gabby for calling out a couple and saying that a couple is not genuine. And it's like, this was your closest friends in the fella. She must know that you two were not genuine. I even called it out after movie night when the two of you fell out and made up immediately. And so, yes, I agree with everybody else that this wasn't a genuine couple. So for Sean to then push Ross to ask a question, Ross said, I was only protecting Jotham, and it was nothing to do, with you. It was just, I was trying to speak up for Jotham because he's a guy. I was with him from day one and I understood him better. Gabby didn't like that, and Shan was now furious because she was saying, how dare Gabby sort of call out my couple? I love that Emma then stepped up to back up her friend Jade and said, do you think Shan and Ross will work on the outside? Gabby said no. Oh, this didn't sit well with Shan, because for her, she didn't like it that her friend was sort of calling out her couple. And it's like, it's the truth though. Gabby was there to be messy, and she was going to be messy. So for her to get off the bike and not even acknowledge, Shan, was something else. And for me personally, I agree with Gabby. Shan chose the guy in the villa that she thought would get her to the end and would get her a win. This was what she was after, and this is why she chose Ross. I won't agree to anything else because there's no justifiable reason for her to say I liked his mo, I liked his mullet, and I like the fact that he was very Australian. Do I think so? No. I think she chose a guy that she chose would offer her security and was unlikely to be stolen by the other girls. And so when Bailey came in and showed interest in him, she didn't understand it. I agree with Gabby that they won't last on the outside. They won't. It's just a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised if by now they've already split up. I wouldn't be surprised because they were never serious. They were never a couple that was going to go the distance. We then have Sophie Monk come out. She speaks to the former Islanders, the dumped Islanders. I'm surprised that Isabel and Connor were there. I really am surprised because I would have expected them to have gone home. I don't get why they were there, given how they refused to do an exit interview. They said they've been traveling Europe and they're doing very well. Do I think they've been traveling Europe? No. I think maybe they've been in Spain and done one or two, maybe cities or towns, and then now they're suddenly saying they've been traveling Europe. How long do they have outside to sort of travel Europe? Side eye. Anyway, Tamara and Mateo, they are never going to be friends. Nobody should be surprised with that. Josh, said he's open to having more chats with Tamara. Gabby said, she's had the rough go of it. I feel like all of them wanted to be a breakout star, wanted to leave the show with a narrative that they could sell to the viewers. That's the impression that I get. You then have the final three couples come up, Jonathan and Jade. You have Kai and Yana, and then Ross and Sean. And so we get to see sort of their clips of how they came into the villa, the other connections they explored. Kai had a couple of negatives in there, and then Sophie Monk revealed the winner. Do I think the right couple won? No, I don't. But would I have preferred Yana and Kai over Sean and Ross? Yes. Sadly, Ross stayed with the wrong girl. I think had Ross sort of shifted and gone to Boston, he would have ended up winning with Boston. But Sean wasn't it for him. I personally, if I had to pick my own winner, Jonathan and Jade should have been the winners. But sadly, they were tarnished by Gabby sort of going around and saying that Jonathan had a girlfriend before he entered the villa and while in the villa. I think this is why they didn't win, but they deserve that win over everybody else. Do I think they're going to make more money? There is a highly likelihood that they will make more money. And I think they are more likely to stay a couple longer than the other two couples that were in the top three. I'm willing to put money on that. I have a feeling that the next sort of Nate and Georgia story is going to be, Jade and Jonathan, if Jonathan doesn't screw it up. But anyway, I can't wait to see what happens. I will be reviewing Married at First Sight USA, and then when Married at First Sight Australia starts, I will be going into that. Thanks, as always. Thanks, guys, for all your support. Thanks for all your comments. I appreciate everyone who watches, and I'll see you definitely in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 28. Bye, everyone.